Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and did James Gunn's Superman film actually show us the origin of, spoiler warning if you haven't seen Superman yet, Bizarro? And thanks to WB Games for sponsoring this video. Lex Luthor's main muscle in this film was a Superman clone that he named Ultraman, which of course is a separate character in the comics. But when that mask is removed, the face, the pale pallor, the messy hair, and the general intelligence implied by Lex Luthor is that this guy is dumb. Like struggling to perform proper sentence structure dumb. And we're already talking copy of a copy there, because Kal-El in this movie is already a bit dumb, taking shade from Steve Lombard about overusing adverbs and clearly failing big time to translate his own parents' voicemails. And thanks to WB Games for sponsoring this video. All anybody at New Rockstars can think about right now is Superman. Maybe Crypto sneaks in there for a minute, but it is fully Superman season over here, and if you're like us, it's not enough to watch Superman, you want to be Superman. The best way to scratch that itch is to download DC Worlds Collide. DC Worlds Collide rules. It's the brand new free-to-play RPG that lets you assemble a squad of the most powerful characters from DC Comics. It puts you in command of iconic superheroes and supervillains like Batman, Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, and Superman. In celebration of the upcoming movie and inspired by his latest appearance, Superman is the first new character to join the roster in DC Worlds Collide. He's available in-game now, with Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and Crypto arriving later this summer. Each character has an awesome ultimate attack that feels like an animated splash page from your favorite comic. The RPG battles are such a satisfying way to upgrade your characters, collect legendary items like the Batmobile and the Invisible Jet, and fine-tune your strategy for taking down the crime syndicate. There's a ton of different game modes to explore, including a boss battle mode, a PvP arena where you can challenge 64 players in an elimination bracket, and an elite arena where you can test the strength of your most powerful trios. And for when you can't play, DC Worlds Collide also has idle gameplay elements that let you progress and earn rewards even when you're away from your phone. DC Worlds Collide is easy to learn and hard to put down. If you want more Superman in your life, you have to get this game. Either scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description below to start playing today. And once you're playing, use code DCWCEPICRPG for 100,000 coins in-game. And thanks to WB Games for sponsoring this video. And for many of you, the most bizarro scene in this movie, or maybe the most pixels or Minecraft coded, took place in the Pocket Universe, the Anti-Proton River that flowed into a black hole created by Lex Luthor violating some laws of quantum physics, replicating the Big Bang to create this Pocket Universe that later paid off when Superman sends the clone of himself created by Lex Luthor into that same black hole. And I think the reason that James Gunn went with this particular production design of these glowing bright cubes was to set up the future of this Superman clone. And this approach with Bizarro is perfectly in line with the Silver Age comics approach to the lore that is also evident by other choices James Gunn made, like Crypto and the Hypno Glasses. So in this video, I'm going to break down who Bizarro is and what this movie did to establish the character in the upcoming DC universe. You may have noticed that I am wearing our awesome new Doghouse of Solitude shirt, crypto themed, that you can get at our merch store, nerdriot.shop. Grabbing one of these as a gift for yourself or some loved one is one of the best ways you can support New Rockstars. Okay, in the Superman film, Lex Luthor uses a combination of threats on Superman, but perhaps the most important part of that is his creation of a Superman clone, gathered from severed hair follicles from Superman's battles. This character is called Ultraman in the film, and Ultraman is a known doppelganger of Superman in the comics who wears a U on his chest and is not affected by kryptonite. But then, right in the middle of the final battle, after Superman survives the Engineer's suffocating nanite swarm, Ultraman's mask is removed and Superman sees his own face staring stupidly back at him. Lex says, as is often the case with cloning, the match was imperfect. He might be even stupider than you, if that's possible, but easier to control and stronger. So the name Bizarro is never used in this film's runtime, but most viewers of this film who have even a rough knowledge of the Superman lore have accepted that this character is pretty much a version of Bizarro. Bizarro is pretty much what Lex describes this clone to be, a much dumber Superman who is known for messy hair and pale skin, looking kind of monstrous, and having a kind of caveman energy, an inability to pronounce words and sentences. He was created by Otto Binder and George Papp in 1958 for Superboy number 68, their idea being to cast the character as a Frankenstein's monster type who just talks like a dumb baby. Now, according to his backstory, Bizarro was created using a duplication ray on Superboy, but since that copy was flawed, he was just just labeled Bizarro. There's a whole Frankenstein-esque story where he befriends a blind girl and ends up destroying himself, but gives her vision back. But the character was so popular that they brought him back into the comics, so that years after this, Lex Luthor creates the duplication ray on Superman and creates the clone that becomes known as Bizarro #1. And he says, "Me not human, me not creature, me not even animal, me unhappy, me don't belong in world of living people, me don't know difference between right and wrong, good and evil." This Bizarro falls in love with Lois Lane, and she's like, and uses a duplication ray on herself to create Bizarro Lois. And these two leave Earth. But then later, in Action Comics number 263 in 1960, Superman discovers that the Bizarros have made an entire world of Bizarros who live on a cube-shaped planet called Htrae, which is Earth backwards. There's a whole race of them there. And so Bizarro World becomes known as just an alternate world where there's just kind of freakish, distorted versions of everything that existed in our world. Known as Superman nerd Jerry Seinfeld made a whole episode of Seinfeld about this. Bizarro would live on as a staple of the Silver Age era, but then in 1986, DC Comics reset their continuity with the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, and the main reality was warped in a way so that much of the Superman canonicity was retconned. Superman no longer had a backstory as Superboy, there was no crypto, and with all that went what we knew about Bizarro. But Bizarro himself was still very popular and stuck around. In Superman the Man of Steel #5 in December 1986, Lex Luthor ordered the creation of a Superman clone via Project Changeling, and this results in another Bizarro. Now, there's also a second Bizarro who was able to think and speak better from the Bizarro's World arc in the late 80s, but he eventually died. And there was yet another Bizarro created by the Joker when he steals the powers of Mr. Mxyzptlk and creates Joker World, a perfect cube of Earth with the Joker's face on each face of it, where Bizarro is who Joker picks to be the planet's greatest hero instead of Superman. I mean, can you imagine when the DCU gets to Mr. Mxyzptlk? It's gonna be wild and insane. Anyway, I include all of this comics context because there are a few qualifications for something to be considered Bizarro in this context. 1, created by Lex Luthor. 2, a clone of Superman. 3, dumber than Superman. 4, uglier than Superman. And 5, represents an alternate reality to Superman's world, a backwards Earth. And it's that last qualification where this Superman clone in this movie falls a bit short. Also, yes, he is not called Bizarro or even described with the word bizarre at any point. We don't see this guy in a faded, tattered Superman suit with a B on the emblem. I get it. We also don't get to see him in any alternate distorted world yet. The way he's described by Lex and the way Cornsweat plays him like a brutish ogre and costumed with insane shaggy hair and pale skin, the light hitting his face in just a way to make his one eye look larger, like Igor level bulbous. It's all very Bizarro coded, and that's why I make this argument that this clone's fate at the end of this movie is meant to be an origin story for Bizarro, or at least it could be an origin story if James Gunn ever wants to go in this direction. I mean, feel free to take this idea, James Gunn. You don't have to credit me. I don't care. It's yours. It's yours. He could construct Htrae and establish Ultraman as Bizarro. Like, as this clone goes into a black hole, we don't know what's on the other side of a black hole because it's impossible to see beyond the event horizon. But theoretical physics have postulated through things like the Penrose diagram that it could lead to a parallel reality. Hey, we've actually been doing this research for Fantastic Four First Steps. Nice to double dip. But some viewers weren't crazy about the visual choice of the anti-proton river looking like a bunch of orange and pink cubes. I agree, it did look kind of silly, but I think they might have went with this design to imply that these things could be building blocks of another reality. Instead of the protons that make up the nuclei of the atoms of our reality, anti-protons could make anti-nuclei, anti-atoms, anti-compounds, anti-carbohydrates, and up and up and up until we get to an anti-Earth, taking on this absurd shape of a cube in another universe that we come to call Htrae. There was also the way Lex described what he did to create this pocket universe. He said, quote, "I replicated the Big Bang using the Luthor Corp Mega Collider and tearing a tiny hole through the universal fabrics." He says universal fabrics, which to me suggests that the meddling with this technology could result in a new universe being formed. And I think that's where this Superman went. In all parts of this Superman film, James Gunn has signaled that this Silver Age wackiness is something that he wants to lean into. The hypno glasses were byproducts of the same era. So was crypto. And if fans love crypto, we're all gonna love Bizarro. We're finally in an era where comic accurate Bizarros could work. I don't think James Gunn is afraid of taking that swing. Me want Bizarro, James Gunn. Me don't know how to live without Bizarro. Comment down below with your thoughts, and a special thanks to one of our YouTube members, Rick Denmon, who supports us at the executive producer level. Follow me at EA Voss and subscribe to all the channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And thanks to WB Games for sponsoring this video. Bye-bye.